All right, welcome back, you all, to another episode of In the Sand podcast. I'm excited to be here for episode 2. I'm here with a special guest, and we're definitely going to get into it a lot more as we go along with this episode. But this guy is important to me. But before we get into that, I just want to again thank you all for your continual support of what we're trying to do. In the Sand podcast is a podcast where we celebrate coaches in a very positive way. Sometimes coaches get a very negative light. A lot of times things are said negatively about coaches because you just pay your admission, but you don't, and you pay your admission, you go to the game and you sit there and evaluate, but you don't really take time to get to know the person inside and out, from off the court or off the sideline or off the field. So this opportunity to be to spotlight coaches. Of course, it's In the Sand podcast because, again, as I said earlier in episode 1, when you go to the beach, you never know what you can find in the sand when you go to the beach. So as we dig into the lives of our guests here, you're going to learn a lot about them. You're going to understand why they're special to me. Each and every person that I have on the show, they were either invited by me or someone recommended them to me. So I'm just excited about that. Remember to visit my Instagram page, Coach B Sanders, as we continue to find more updates. But also, too, we're also raising money for St. Jude as well. So please support Coach Justin Sanders. And of course, today I have Coach Terrence Sanders on the show today, and he's also joining the campaign to help us raise money for St. Jude as well. So I'm excited about it. This is my big cousin. Right now, he's living in Dallas, coaching at a great school out in Texas. I'm gonna let him share more, but I'm excited to have him on. And before he gets on, I just want to just say a few things about him. One thing that I really admire about him is that he has a very caring heart. He may not want you to know that about him, but he has a very caring heart, man. He cares about people, and he really cares about his family. Whatever he can do to help his family, he's going to be there. And so I do appreciate him. I call him Wayne. So if you catch me on here calling him Wayne, that's kind of what I call him. But he's definitely been a great inspiration to me with coaching. He has a lot of experience in the game of coaching. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because that's for him to be able to share. But we're going to talk about it more. So that's enough for that. So, Coach, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let everybody know who you are, and tell us about your journey and how you got into this great game of coaching basketball.
First of all, thank you for the invite. This is definitely an honor. You could have chose a lot of other people to be on your podcast, and I appreciate that. But I think that from a coaching standpoint, I've been lucky. I didn't play organized basketball. I didn't play high school. I didn't play college. I played no organized basketball and had the opportunity to be a head coach on the college level, assistant coach on the college level. I've been athletic director on the college level. I've been a compliance officer on the athletic level, and a few other positions in between high school. I've been lucky. I've been lucky because a lot of people don't get those chances, and I really believe that you get those chances. One, being a good person, and two, uh, just being around something that you like. And so I've been lucky. You know, a lot of people can't say that they never played organized basketball, was a head coach on a college level. So I've been lucky, and so my career actually started. Um, at Jackson State, believe it or not. I'll show you how funny this story is. Um, I'm originally from New York City, and I enrolled at Jackson State, and things didn't work out at Jackson State for me, and I end up transferring down to Southern Miss. And it was just crazy because I was just really struggling at Jackson State as a student, right? Just as a student. And so I remember I was talking to one of the instructors at Jackson State, and I was telling them what I really wanted to do, because at that time I was majoring in recreation administration, and I told him I really wanted to be a coach. He said, "Well, you need to go to the University of Southern Mississippi. They have a BS, and they offer a degree in coaching and sports administration." I'm like, "I'm out of here." And so after I transferred down to Southern Miss, I graduated and I got my first coaching start at Hattiesburg High. I was able to internship with the girls basketball program, and And that was a blessing because that was a great program. We finished second in the district. We won, I think we were like 22-9. And so it was a great season. And we also had a young lady on the team. Her name was Tracy Knight, and she was our best player. And not only that, but she was a great track star. And so I think Tracy made it to the Olympic trials in the shot put. And, that's like a strange combination, be a basketball player and a shot put. But
It,
she got that's, I mean,
it,
that's a strange combination, you would think, you
yeah.
know, some other things. So I did that, and then I went to grad school, and that was also a double blessing because I had my master's degree in coaching and sports administration, and I got that at uh, the United States Sports Academy, which is located in Daphne, Alabama. And so I go and start working on my master's degree, and you had to do an internship. And so I was trying to figure out, who did I want to learn from. And so I remember I was just going through some stuff, and Clarence Big House Gaines, who was the head basketball coach at Wichita State University, he was on the verge of being an all-time winners basketball coach at that time. And so I remember I was talking to my advisor, and he was telling me, what you gonna do for your internship? And I started laughing. I said, I'd like to do my internship under Coach Gaines.
Definitely.
So, uh
No, I said definitely. I said, yeah, that's major.
yeah, yeah. And so, he said, you want to go in there? And that's where you want to do your internship? And I said, yeah, if I want to do something, why not learn and work under the all-time winners basketball coach in history at that time? Obviously, he's been passed, but at the time, he was the coach. So anyway, so about 3 days later, my advisor tracks me down and says, Sanders, you need to call Clarence Big House Gaines. He's looking for you. Huh? He said, yeah. You need to call him if you're serious, but you need to call him if you want to go down there and do your internship.
Mm,
Fast forward, I call him, and he wasn't nice to me.
for real.
He was not nice to me, but he was a great guy, though. That's the thing, though. He wasn't nice to me, but he was a beautiful guy. And so I called him. He's like, "You want to come down here?" He said, "Listen, you're gonna have to live in the dorm, and you're gonna have to wash uniforms, and you're gonna have to do the academic stuff, and you're gonna have to do all of that stuff. And don't think you're gonna be coming down here thinking you're gonna coach or anything like that, because that's not what I need you for." So I'm laughing. I'm like, man, I said, Coach K, if I gotta watch the uniforms, it is what it is. But when you get finished, you're gonna be all right though, okay? So fast forward, I go to Pacific State, and he wasn't lying. I watched uniforms and set up for practice, and I couldn't. I was there, uh, and so that was a great thing. And quick sidebar, uh, Stephen A. Smith was actually at Winston-Salem State. The guy that's on ESPN, he was actually at Winston-Salem State when I was there. And truth be told, Steve could play. Steve could shoot that thing for real. He could shoot that thing for real. For some reason, he just didn't play much. But yes, Steve was on that staff. I mean, was a player, and he had one or two other guys that also played on that team. There's currently some D1 coaches um, too. So that was a great environment. And so I did that, finished up my master's degree, and then I'm just going to just hit some. And really got into junior college basketball. I moved back to New York City. I did JUCO basketball for a long period of time, and got a head coaching job at a JUCO, and just kind of moved along. And then I got some assistant jobs or on the D2 level. And then I jumped back down to high school, and I been did high school for a while, and then moved to Texas, and that's where I'm at now, working at James Madison High School, which is located in Dallas, Texas, and working under and with Coach Damian Moley, who's is a great guy, and that's another funny story too, because when I first got to James Madison, I was actually supposed to be the girls' assistant basketball coach, and
Mhm.
so we had our little pre-teaching meeting, and he actually left Madison and as head coach. And so we in this room and we going through the internship. I mean, the intake. They're teaching you how to do stuff. And so they ask you to talk about yourself. So I'm like, ah. And so the next day he's like, yo, like, you want to be my assistant? Like, I was saying, okay, I'll be your assistant. Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't know who he was. I swear to God, I didn't know who he was, but he's very, very successful. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know nothing about him. Well, fast forward, so I'm his assistant, and that was back in 18, and I've been working under him and working with him, and a lot of success. We won 3 of the 4 last state championships at 3A at Madison, and currently we rank #1 in state. We just won our district for the 5th year straight, and so it's been a joy at Madison. It's been really a joy. So that's kind of like a quick overview of my journey and where I'm at now.
I mean, that's an amazing journey so far, and a lot of people now can maybe give Stephen A. Smith a break because we got somebody on here who can validate it in football just a little bit. And that's amazing. And you had a great opportunity at a young age to be around like historians of the game and also end up legends of the game and legends of media. So that's just a blessing to be around that, man. And it's amazing to see your journey. And one thing, you got a little bit more confidence than I am. I'm such a homebody in Mississippi, man. You don't mind taking your bags and moving to a place that helps you further along your career. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, he always gets me to try to leave and expand my wings, man. But I'm a homebody. I love where I am in Mississippi. Coach, before we get in, you send Coach Justin Sanders and you send us tweets all the time or messages and pictures about how your team is doing, the domination that you all have. Just excited, and I got an opportunity to kind of watch some of you all's clips on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. So before we get in and getting to know more about you, just take a small minute. We won't go too far with it, but talk to us a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about your coach. Talk to us a little bit more about your coaching staff, some of the players that you have, the community. Just kind of share, because I know a lot of your fans are going to be watching. Of course, if anybody knows Coach, he's a life of a party. He brightens up a room, so I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this. So kind of talk a little bit about your community, your players, coaching staff. Give them a little time. I know they're here supporting you.
Okay, great. Again, I'm the boys assistant varsity coach. I'm the JV head coach, and quick shout out to my JV guys. Since I've been coaching JV, we pretty much dominated on the JV level, just like we have on the varsity level. In the 5 years of the program, we only lost to three, I think 3 or 4 games to 3A schools. And so we've been really, really, I feel like really a force on 3A basketball at James Madison. The school that we service is located in South Dallas, which is, to be perfectly honest with you, underserved community. Student body is really small. We only have maybe about 380 students. Um, Primarily Latino and African American students. The school is a historical landmark. It's currently in a model, getting remodeled, and they're doing some new things, adding the gym and doing some new things to kind of modernize it because it is a historical landmark. Um, the school in the city of Dallas is really starting to be a hotbed for basketball because you have Kimball and Carter just recently on if you look at the most recent Max Prep rankings, they in that mix. Lake Highlands is in that mix. Duncanville is in that mix. I mean, like basketball in the Dallas Metroplex is really, really legit. And I don't even want to talk about Houston because Houston is also another hotbed of basketball. You would think it's a football state, but it's quickly becoming a basketball state. Um, at Madison, and that's why our players, really, a lot of people say, well, y'all win all these state championships and stuff, and you send guys to D1s, and I think you and I had this conversation, and like, no, we don't send guys to D1s. The guys that play basketball that were D1, they get scholarships in football, not in basketball. You know, they get, I know, go figure, right? That's one of those things like, earlier when I was talking about Tracy Knight, but yeah, we say guys D1, but in football, we say guys at D2, we sure do, but in football,
Football.
so for a lot of those guys that had came through the program, they've been great for the program, and I did, um, and um, and so they've been able to prosper in whatever athletic uh, field that they can do. But I think basketball had played a lot of big part in their success. But our guys, and I think I also told you too. I said a lot of guys that play at Madison, this is their Duke, this is their Kentucky. You know what I mean? And they take pride in that. And so it's nice for them to come back and see the banners and see where they left their mark. And so, yeah, Madison is very unique. It's very unique.
And that's very good, man. Hopefully one day I'll be able to go out there and visit that. Coach, let's kind of get into it. You and I talk basketball all the time. Of course, when you come and visit, I know, quote unquote, my dad said he's the coach, so he talks basketball. But we gonna get down to some true X's and O's, and we'll let them make it on this one. But Coach, we're gonna look at our topic today. Is gonna be about what you feel are some of the best strategies and principles to implement into a winning program. And you shared throughout your journey some of the winning cultures that you've been a part of and the one that you're currently a part of at Madison. So with that kind of being said, let's kind of talk about, share with me what you feel are some of the best practices, strategies, concepts to implement a championship culture.
Well, I think the first thing that has to be in place is support from the administration. If your administration is not helping you and not supporting you, it's tough to win. It's tough to win, and that's one thing I can say currently at Madison. The administration, the staff, the teachers, um, are so supportive. And so it's good to come into an environment when certain things are going to be taken care of or fixed or corrected or just that alone is such a big step in trying to develop a great program. I think another great thing that will help you for any coach, in my opinion, is you have to be organized. You have to be organized, and so because you only can practice so many days. You only play so many games, and so you have to be organized. You got to have a purpose. You have to be very, very efficient with your time, and so I feel like that's also another key to success. Um, Another key is, and I'm sure you can definitely agree with this, is getting kids to buy in and understanding what you're trying to do and willing to do it. And sometimes a lot of kids don't want to do it, or probably more importantly, or maybe a better way of saying it, they don't understand why we do what we do.
That's cool.
And yeah, and so and that can be difficult to try to get kids because as much as it's a team sport, it's still made up of a group of individuals. And so to get a group of individuals to get together and buy in and understand the vision, the formula that works, that's also important. Um, and one more thing I think is important. Um, I think you as a coach, and one thing that you should really should consider in your program is making your kids the best athletes they can be.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, the all-season conditioning, lifting weights, eating right, getting sleep. You just don't know how important that is. And if you don't believe me, look at a freshman at a college and then look like even a 5-year vet in the NBA, and you can see the physicality of it. And
Different.
so, yeah, it makes a big difference. And so, I think coaches really need to focus on making kids better athletes. And then obviously skill is important. I'm not saying that's not important, but if you have no athletic ability, I mean, I don't know what sport you can play. I mean, tell me because I want to know. Because I want to know because that'd be a great conversation.
I mean, Coach, I think that's important. And we talked, like you said, we talked about it, especially being in smaller schools. you know, you sometimes you don't have that athleticism, and sometimes you are just working with what you have. But when you look in the team that you're playing and they have those things that you're looking for that your team doesn't have, then it validates what you just said. Like, you got to have the athletic ability, but there's a lot of things that go into it. And I like what you said. People don't realize this. Well, I'm not gonna say people. I say it a lot, so I need to kind of change that. But those in this circle of basketball don't understand that administration is very important. And as coaches, we do understand that the education part is the most important thing. Like, that's number one. But
Yeah,
also,
I agree.
in there with that, it's certain things that you need for your athletic program to be successful, because we know it in the education world that all these kids don't come to school for English, math, history, science, etc. A lot of them come for their sports, and sometimes to get them a good meal, 1 or 2 meals a day. And so I think you have to find a balance between that, and you can't have an administration that's um, so I guess caught on one side of it and not building both of it. And it's not just sports; it's the fine arts program as well. Those things work hand in hand. And if you can find an administration that can tie the education, the athletics, and the fine arts together, it makes a big difference with that. So I think that's key, and you really, I think, enlightening a lot of people, because sometimes you see it in programs, coaches are not allowed to really do what they want to do because administration hasn't fully bought in to what they're trying to do. And buy-in is important. I know you talked about this, gave me some encouraging words. I'm currently at Richland High School here in Richland, Mississippi, and we're going through that process. Of course, the season is over now. We didn't have the success that we wanted, but you said something that's even a comfort to
Hello,
me.
Coach.
Huh?
Coach, I think we froze up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I think we froze up for a second.
Oh, ain't no problem. Uh,
15 seconds.
okay. But I think that young coaches can take what you heard, what you said, and apply it. That you think about buy-in, and it's not so much that the kids may necessarily being just disobedient; they just don't understand why we're trying to get them to do what we have. So I think that was key, and I hope they help somebody out in that matter of it. Coach, talk to me about branding. Branding your program, and you've been a big advocate of that. That's kind of one of the biggest arguments that you and my dad have when you come down here to visit us, is the branding of a program. So talk to us why you feel, and I know you had the athletic director hat on early in your career, so I know that's a passion to you. But explain to our viewers, our fans, why branding is so important.
And you know what? It's so funny that you say that because and my uncle, bless his heart, love him to death, and he was having an issue with Deion Sanders with the gold chain and
Yep.
the dancing and all of that, and I understood where he was coming from. I
Right.
really did, but Deion Sanders, for example, he's a brand.
He's a
He's a
brand.
brand. And so when you think of Deion Sanders, you think of certain things, the jewelry, the style, the language, the swag, or whatever you want to call it. That's
Yep.
his brand.
Yep.
And so every program has to have a brand.
Mhm.
And so it speaks for itself. And I could throw out some programs when you think of North Carolina, you think about the blue, you think about Michael Jordan, you think about those uniforms. I mean, you think about Dean Smith, when you think about Georgetown, right? Those are brands. Those are brands. And so when you say that, and when you mention certain things about those schools, it's just things that's naturally associated with it. And so branding, I think, is very important. And even for coaches, um, they have to have a brand. Uh, People need to know what they're going to expect. Because one thing that people really love is being consistent,
Yeah.
right? Being consistent. And so if you can be consistent on a high level, uh, it speaks for itself. You don't have to say anything. And I give you another great example, like a great living example. Uh, the guy that I work for now, Coach Mobley. It's a brand. Madison is a brand. They know it's going to be pressure defense. We're going to play a lot of people. We try to score some points. We want to defend. We want to turn you over. Like, you know that. We getting ready for the playoffs. And I guarantee you, every team, we got game Tuesday. I guarantee you, Pilot Point knows. Second they found that, oh, we play Madison, they already know. They already know.
They know.
They already know. And so um, And so branding is so important because it promotes your program and it allows you, believe it or not, to be successful because you're being consistent on a high level. And so if you had to be different in your branding, like a Deion Sanders with the gold chain and all, hey, but one thing that you can't argue with is success. You
Yeah.
can't. And let me just touch on one more thing real quick because I remember one of the conversations I had with my uncle when Dion just got there and I said, look, man, I said if y'all trying to change the program, there's certain things you have to do right up the rip. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Man, you gotta get you a weight room. You gotta get I'm serious, you gotta get you a weight room, you gotta get you a locker room, you gotta get all those things associated with it because that's where those guys spend most of their time at. And as soon as I said it, right? As soon as I said when he got there, you saw when he left. They got PS5s in the locker room, they got barbershop, they got food. That's branding. And so now the next coach has to keep that up. I don't know how he gonna do it because he ain't Deion Sanders, but you see what branding does. And then when you look at that and look what he did in Colorado already, it's branding. And so that's what sells, right? Like Colgate, it's a brand.
Yep.
And so I think it's important that each coach, each athletic program find its own brand and promote it. Just make sure it's right, make sure it's ethical, make sure it's done with the student athletes in mind, for the community in mind, and make it a positive thing. But you have to do those things, when you create your brand. You just have to do it.
I mean, I agree with that. That's very and very important because I think about Chick-fil-A. I mean, Chick-fil-A is a brand, and you said it when you go to Chick-fil-A, you know what you're going to expect. You're going to expect great quality service. You're going to expect great food, and if they get it wrong, they're going to try to make it right. And so that's why they're able, in my opinion, to be able to thrive. And also, even when they make small price increases, people kind of look at it, scratch their head like, but they appreciate the service that they receive, and that keeps them going along. I check y'all out all the time. I look at y'all footwear. I mean, I see every game y'all lace man, y'all color coordinated, y'all looking good because when you're gonna play Madison, like you said, and I just seen some of the things you sent me. I know that y'all gonna score a lot of points. And I know that losing is not is acceptable at Madison. And then y'all gonna look good while doing it, coach. You keep your kids in nice uniforms. Again, you all show a brand. You celebrate it. So those things are important. So you got to brand your program. You got to have a good show, as they say. People got to want to come see something good. So I think that's amazing in what you have. But coach, yeah, because I check your shoe game out, man. But
Oh, listen now. Listen, let me tell you something. I can't show it now, but we in a playoff run, right? And
right.
so I got 7 pair of sneakers. If we get there, all right, yeah, I'm ready because to be honest with you, and it's so funny that you mentioned that, and not to cut you off because it's funny because when we won our last state championship, Coach Mobley was with his little press conference, and he says, "Yes, Coach, we see your sneaker game," and he says, "Yeah, the whole coach staff is really competitive when it comes to that sneaker thing. So everybody got to be on their P's and Q's. So yeah." I'm ready this year. I'm blazing. I'm blazing this year for that.
Oh man,
It's so funny.
we got to bring you back on when y'all win that championship, man, so you can show people, see your face, man, and see your swag, man.
I
But
don't know about.
so let's talk some basketball, man. Some
Okay.
particulars. Um, I want to pick your brain about this one. Of course, me and you had a conversation a couple years ago about situational basketball, and that really and that's the part that really makes a difference. And as a young coach, and if you're listening, even a veteran coach, you got to spend time working on your situation. So, coach, let's talk about this one. And everybody has a difference of opinion with this. So, again, like you said, we strictly positivity. So, again, you may agree or disagree, but it's just brands that we're talking about, and there's no right or wrong. Everybody has an opinion. So, coach, this is something big. When is a good time? I said calling the timeout, and you and I we
I
talk
know you could do that.
talk about this a lot, and I kind of give people a little background. But we won't take too much of their time. A couple years ago, I was blessed at Pisgah. Of course, I'm at Richland High School now, but 2 years ago, Coach Justin Sanders, who was my previous guest, we were at Pisgah playing in the district championship game. We had a lot of adversity with us. We had two of our starters were out for whatever reason. So we had to play some guys that we had been preparing all season for, but that's kind of a part of what our brand was, is prepare all guys, because you never know what'll happen. And so we're playing St. Joseph High School, coached by Coach Michael Howe, and they have always been a thorn in our side. And in this game, we had a great team. Shout out to those guys. I know they're probably watching as well. But we had a great team, and we were nip and tuck with St. Joe. We got the game to overtime. And one of my players, Ty Smith, went to the line. I want to say Ty made one, missed one, and we end up being up, I think, about 1 point. And so as he's getting ready to shoot the free throw, I call a timeout. And I hear, later on, a couple of days later, my great cousin, he's watching the game from Texas, because again, he's a family, always show support. But he types on the line, "Why did you call a timeout? No!" And so I'm thinking, I'm like, man, this is like the highest moment I had at Pisgah. And I look online and my cousin like, man, that's a bad call. You should have called a timeout. So you know me, I had to call him. I said, "Cuz, tell me, why didn't you feel this was a good timeout?" And we talked about it and we discussed it, and we had a great conversation with it. But then it's funny, ladies and gentlemen, my big cousin, he's in this, I watched his game a couple of weeks ago, saw almost same similar situation. His team, I think they're up by one, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm looking at it. I said, I know he's not about to call a timeout. And he called a timeout. And I said, I got to ask Big Cuz about this one. So we go back and forth with it. But I think what both of us learned in that situation, timeouts, it gets tricky. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. So, Cuz, talk to us about the situation with my game, the situation with your game, and then just talk about timeouts in general. Because to be honest, Coach, the main reason, and after we talked, the main reason that I call timeouts in situations like that is because I saw other coaches who were mentors of mine do the same thing.
Okay, and I understand that.
And then when you brought it to my attention, at first I took it a certain type of way, but then I said, let me get out my feelings and listen to what Cuz is saying, because he's always
really.
He never means any evil. And I thought about it. I said, I really don't know why I called it time. I only called it because I was keen to calling it. So that really helped me out a lot. And so we joke about it now, but give us your perspective about it, and then talk to us about the timeout in general.
First of all, I knew you was gonna bring this up. I knew you was gonna bring this up. I knew you was gonna bring this up. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we this is really funny, because yes, when he was playing that game, I was actually sitting there watching it live, and all that he talked about transpired. And I was sitting there and I'm like, he's got him on the ropes, because the other team, I believe, didn't have a timeout.
No, they
didn't have a timeout. They didn't have a timeout. So I'm like, okay, and it looked like the team was really prepared to know what to do if he missed the shot, or hello?
I hear you good.
Okay, missed the shot. And so I was like, man, there's no need to call timeout right there. There is no need to call timeout right there. And so I'm looking at it, and he called timeout. I said, oh man, now he gave him a chance to set up, to do what they're going to do. He gave him a chance, and then they got back in, and luckily, thank God that you won. But I was like, man, you had them on the ropes, and if you looked at the tape, you can see they were really disorganized, because they did. And I was like, okay, fine. Plus, it was a free throw, and so again, with a free throw, that's really a timeout into itself, in which you can give directions and hopefully got things already in place, and you just reminding your guys what you have to do.
Right.
And so, and that's what that was. In my situation, it was a little bit tricky, because um, the referee actually did something wrong, and so that was the first thing about the timeout situation. And so let me back up a little bit. I really don't like calling timeout in general. I think there's enough stops in play naturally, and to make corrections and make adjustments just naturally, and then that's not taking account of the other team or calling timeout. And so I can go through a whole game and not call a timeout. And I think that goes back to what I said much earlier about being organized. If you're organized and really prepared for some things, and if your guys are in tune and they buy in, you can make corrections. Also, too, a slick way to get a timeout is making substitutes, making subs, and that allows you time to make subtle adjustments because sometimes a timeout doesn't need to be called for a subtle adjustment. Make a sub, use that time, da 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 da. And so,
Yeah.
um, so when our player was shooting that free throw, the referee gave him the ball and he took it out of his hand. I'm like, why? He said, well, you called timeout. I said, yeah, but I didn't. I told him that I was going to call a timeout, but certain things had to take place. So that's what it was. And what really happened was the other team called timeout. He called timeout. And so I was fussing. One, why did you take the ball out of my player's hand? That was one issue. And two, I didn't call timeout. He called timeout. And so, how can you give him a timeout if our player already has the ball in his hand? And so, it was a misapplication of the rules. And so that was one issue. Um, but what I wanted to do was what my plan was, if he was going to make it, I wasn't going to call timeout.
Mhm.
I wasn't. I wasn't going to call a timeout because I didn't have to. And so it's tricky. And I know I wish you could have had the film up. I think that would have been another great thing. So I
Yeah.
can actually walk that through. That would have been beautiful.
Yeah, I got it up though, but I didn't know if you want to go through it because then it's
Well,
gonna
we can go through it. We can
show
go
you
through
about
it
that timeout though. But go ahead.
yeah,
I got it up for the fans to see.
yeah, yeah. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the thing, and I find it so funny is that my cousin hit me up, and do you know this joker says, you did call a timeout. I said, I didn't call a timeout. He said, you did call a timeout.
Yeah,
I said, no, I didn't. So he went and heard, I don't know where he got that film from, but he heard me say something about some timeout. He recorded it. I was like, no, that joke it didn't. No,
yeah.
he don't, chicken.
I
But
asked.
yeah, so yeah, you got me. You got me. I got my hand in the cookie jar, but it was some other things with that. But again, just the philosophy about timeout, I'm not a fan of timeouts. I think there's a natural stop and play to make subtle adjustments. I think you just call timeouts when needed. Especially, it's always nice to have all your timeouts in the last 2 minutes of the game or 3 minutes.
It is.
If you really got to do some stuff. But I just know there's a lot of coaches call timeout for no reason. I'm like, for real, you go that's not timeout worthy. So that's just my philosophy. I don't like calling timeouts. I say in my timeouts, um, last second situations like those situations on the free throw. I definitely don't like calling timeout because my team should be prepared and we should know what we're doing, how we're going to do it. And if I need to make an adjustment again, I'll make a substitute. And
Yeah,
that allow me time to make some adjustments and also to say in my timeouts.
that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true, man. I got the video. I'm trying to find the clip I had it saved. But while I'm continuing to look through that, I want to continue to go through some things while I find that clip, and we can always come back to it. Here's another thing that's
Okay, that's fine.
an argument that we have. When your team is up by 3, so again, your team up. So let's say your team's up by 3, and your opposing team has the ball with 10 seconds left. Are you fouling or you gonna let it play through, coach?
Oh, me?
Yes.
In general, I'm not fouling. I'm
Okay.
not fouling. We gonna play good solid defense. We down by 3 because the worst thing that can happen is a tie. That's the
Oh,
worst thing that can happen. It's a
we.
tie. And so I'm okay with that. So they the one that got to make that play. All we gotta do is just defend. You gotta make that play. You gotta make that play. Two, we should not foul. We should be solid enough and prepared enough to where we're not going to foul. And if they just make a luck shot, a crazy shot, then it was just supposed to happen. But now, because I'm down by 3, the worst that can happen is a tie. So I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that because I know they have to shoot a 3.
But that's tough though. I guess what I'm saying, I've seen so many games where the team, and of course this generation, especially on the men's side and women's side as well, a little bit probably more on men's side, people shoot a 3-point shot very, very well, coach. And again, maybe I'm a safe guy, coach, but I've seen a lot of guys, they come down, they make the 3-point shot, you go to overtime, they lose the momentum, and then they end up losing the game. And I'm almost, and again, I'm kind of surprised. I thought we were going to agree on this one, but I just say I take my chances. I'm gonna foul you, make you make 2 free throws. Hey, I'm still up by 1. Of course, my guys got to make the free throw, but if you got to go length of the court, we're gonna make you use about hopefully 3 to 4, maybe 5 seconds. So even if we foul you, you make 2 free throws, we get the ball in. Hopefully we can make both free throws. If we make both free throws, we pretty much cashing in a victory almost, because you're gonna have to launch a full court shot. But I feel like we can beat you with the time and just being up by 1. So again, that's probably me being safe. But like for example, it was a game last night here in the state of Mississippi. I feel like the team should have won. Team hit a 3-point shot at the buzzer, and then that team ended up losing. And this team is in the 3rd round, and this team is going home. And I feel like this team had an opportunity to play for a state championship this year.
Well, you that's the chance you take.
Okay.
That's the chance you take.
I can.
And even if you do, and even if you do foul, right? Then how many times have you seen a guy on the free throw line, guys don't box out
That's true. Yep.
and ones? Then then you got to get the ball inbounds, 5 seconds. You know, bad passes. I mean, like I'm gonna take my chance. And even with that game that you saw,
Mhm.
um, there's some. Hey, we just going to defend. Y'all got to make a play. We going to defend, and I still say that was a walk. Okay, I hope you got that clip in there too. Yeah, that was a walk. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. Um, we just going to defend. We just going to defend. But I also believe too, and this is one thing that we don't think of. Um, are you playing at home or are you playing on the road? I think that plays a lot in your decision making because everybody plays a little bit better when they're on their home court, and so that's another something to consider. Um, um, but also too, I'm just looking at what we have done lately. Um, I just don't want to give away free points. If you want to score, you got to earn it. I just don't want to. I just don't want to give it to you.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it.
I
We're
feel
not
you on
doing
that.
that.
I definitely do. And this again, it's agree to disagree. Again, it's not a right or wrong with it.
Yeah.
Um, these two things always get negative. These things right here always get negative comment from coaches. And I understand it to a certain extent, but again, it's not very bad. Zone defense coach, and then also to talking, they call it junk defense. I hate the word junk defense because it feel like that you just throwing something together. But coach, talk to me a little bit about, do you feel, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tie these 3 together so we can kind of keep on moving. I know you got to get to practice, coach, trying to win
No,
that
that's fine.
championship.
That's
But
fine.
coach, talk to me
Okay.
about, do you prefer zone defense or man-to-man defense? Talk to me. Do you believe in this? I call it special defense, and I mean boxing 1, triangle and 2. And then talk about press or no press. So again, so you gonna look at 3 phases, coach: man to man or zone. Talk to us about your thoughts on what you feel about special defense, boxing 1, triangle and 2, and to press or not to press.
Um, Here at Madison, that's one thing I could say that was
So just
really,
kind of let
really
me know what you're
easy.
thinking about that.
Okay, as for the man-to-man, here at Madison, Coach Mobley is a pressure man guy, and that's what I am, pressure man-to-man. And,
Coach might
and
have some technical
can you
difficulties
hear
right
me?
now, so give him just a second. I probably could
Can you
pause.
hear me?
Let me pause. You can hear me?
It said recording, but I can hear you. Yes.
All right. So, all right.
Um, Man to man, Coach Mobley and I, we had the same philosophy as it relates to defense. So that was really seamless. Pressure man to man, up tempo. And we use defense to create tempo because we want to score a lot of points. It's about possessions. Also, too, it ties into our conditioning. I think I kind of touched on it earlier that trying to get our kids to buy into being the best athlete, being the best shape, and just wearing you down. If you remember them old tapes of Georgetown when they used to get at you, 94 feet, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Um, but one thing, what I will also say is I think it also allows you to play some junk defenses because if you really, let me put it like this: if man, if you a good man defense is a zone, and a zone defense is really a man.
That's
It
really
really is. And so yeah. And so, if you're solid in one, you should be able to transition to a junk defense and things like that. Pressure on the ball, help side, don't let the ball get to the middle. All defenses have those components in it. And so one of the blessings that I have had is Coach Gaines. He was real good friends with Dean Smith,
mm,
and I went down there and worked at basketball camp, and I learned that their number system and their drills that they do at North Carolina, the running jump and the 2-3. That's really a 1-3-1 matchup, and all those little junk defenses that you can use to supplement your main defense. So I'm actually an advocate of zone defense. I'm an advocate of junk defenses. I think those are nice curveballs. Those are nice things to do after timeouts. I just think that could also be your main defense if you need be based on what your needs are. But primarily man-to-man defense and junk defenses and zones. I definitely think you should be well versed in those too. How much practice time you should spend to it is relative to how much you think you may need it down the line. Um, and so my philosophy really ties into what North Carolina done historically. I know Coach Williams, the current coach at North Carolina, kind of do things a little bit differently. But yeah, even my JV team, we play a lot of man to man. We trapping, we switching. The only time we really play zone is on baseline inbounds plays, and even then, it really morphs back into a man to man. So yeah, a man is a zone and a zone is a man, and I always thought that conversation was really silly to some extent because it's just it's just it's all the same.
yeah. I mean,
It's
I
all the
agree
same.
with that too. Before I took a small school job at Pisgah, we were always played man. Of course, I was at Merle seeing large basketball, and when went to Pisgah, this was about 6 years ago when I first started there. All I saw was zone, and so I really had to go and study and go find some things and create a zone package. And so at my school now, currently at Richland, everybody plays man, and so I'd like to implement a lot of zone things because again, if they all they're practicing is man 90% of the time, we can maybe find a small advantage of that. But you hear the critiques all the time where people say, well, man, zone, you ain't teaching them this, you ain't teaching them that, et cetera, et cetera. And I had something that I wanted to read online about that, but a guy was talking about, he understood why coaches were teaching zone during COVID. But he said COVID is over. He said you didn't have a lot of time to teach it, but we should go back to man to man. And so I thought that was kind of edgy a little bit, to say that, because of that. But again, that's his philosophy, way he sees things. I think in the game of basketball, you gotta have all type of different packages when you're looking at it. So I mean, so I think we agree on that. That's one thing we finally agree on. I got the video, I got the video clip of Coach, but I want to get through some more questions, man, because you got a lot of wealth of knowledge, and I want people to hear this before we get into our little debate. Um, Coach, I got a lot of things on here, man. I'm gonna try to get to them, but I don't want to take too much of your time. Coach, what's your
Oh
best
no.
defensive action to get a scoring opportunity? So when you're looking for a bucket, trying to get a score, what's your best or what is your go-to offensive action that you go to?
Hey, it's quick hitters, man. I love the 1-4 high quick hitters.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, if you look at an NBA game. If you look at it, all those are quick hitters, man.
They are.
All
Yep.
of those are quick hitters. If you just in search of a quick hitters, which I am, which you want to get your best or your second, third scorers of ball. Yeah, man, just look at the NBA and see what they do. I personally like the 1-4 because I love that pass to the wing and that quick cut to the basket because there's no help side.
Mhm.
And you can get to it real quick. And then it also allows a lot of on ball screen action, the pick and roll, and the ball reversal, if the help side is there. But I tell everybody, man, basketball is really nothing but a bunch of quick hitters, man, because nobody's really running pure offense now. They just not. And it has a lot to do with the kids out there now that are so skilled offensively. Like, yeah, there's no need to throw 40 passes to get a shot now when you got a hooper. You know what I mean? He don't need 40 passes.
You know.
You know, no, them days are gone now, and it's so amazing because we get ready to get into the playoffs, and we look at these scores of some of these teams that we're gonna play. Like, man, I tell you, man, they'll play a game and it's like 34-36, like 41 to like 39. They're like, yeah, they're throwing passes. They throwing passes. It's like, okay, you shoot, then we're gonna walk it down and we're gonna throw 20 passes and we're gonna shoot, and then okay, we're gonna let you get back to 50. And like it's just and it's no offense because you gotta coach to your talent and what you have available, but
You do.
um, I want to score 100 points, man. I want to score 100 points, man. And the best way to do that is create tempo, get to that basket, let's get good shots. And one thing that's which not really spoke a lot about is you really have to get more possessions and more shots than the other team. You ought to win. If you have a rebounding team, if you forcing more turnovers, creating more steals, and which means more shots, you ought to win.
Yeah.
I'm not saying defense is not important, but if you were getting 20 to 25 more possessions than the other team, you ought to win.
Yeah.
You ought to win.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of, this guy gets a lot of critique about it, kind of what Mike D'Antoni believe, if I can outscore you, get more possession, you got a good opportunity to win. And one of my favorite coaches, of course, he doesn't get a lot of credit for, really kind of gets bashed a lot, is the guy that used to be at Loyola Marymount when they ran
Oh,
the
West Side.
yeah, man. I liked his philosophy, man. It was, and I go back often and look at those games when they played LSU. That was an amazing game. They played. There's another team that they played, Michigan. When they played Michigan, Michigan tried to go up and down with them, and
Couldn't
eventually
do it.
man, got wore out. So that was some good brand of basketball. They were just creative possessions. Of course, he tried in the NBA. Magic said, "Man, forget all that running, man." But uh, it worked for him, and I enjoyed it. So with that being said, Coach, how much freedom do you give your players? Because of course, what you just said is you like for them to, if you can get it and go. So how much freedom do you give them? Is it up to them,
and
up to you, or talk to us about it?
hey, we it's just now, basketball now is all about spacing.
Yeah,
And so we just want to space the court and let guys create and do things. But the other part and I'm gonna say something and I hope you see it because I'm gonna stand on this. But my JV, the way that we run our half court offense, the way we pass and cut and move, I really think a lot of people could uh, take something from that on how we do it. It's a little bit slight variation of what our varsity does, but
yeah,
we do a great job moving that ball and getting good shots. Um, and it's really just based on the spacing. We just try to go 4 out. We get one in, and our post. Well, it's not even a post guy, but we just want to keep somebody on the baseline opposite of the ball, and so we can um, drive it. Oh, there you go. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. I
let's
wish
pass.
I had the little marker on the screen.
Yeah,
You talking-
I
oh
know.
man, you see how I got me excited now.
Yeah, so
But
let's
let me finish my. Oh, let me finish my thought, Brandon. And so yeah, so we just want to just allow some spacing, and so we work on during practice 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type action, just to get the ball moving, get the ball moving, bodies moving, ball moving, bodies cutting, and so we're not regimented, but and if we need to do a quick hitter, we have enough stuff that we can do out of what we already do. So it's a seamless transition if I just want to get somebody the ball in a particular situation. So and so that's how that works.
Okay. I think that's good, and that's one thing. Just talking to you, and of course, people who know that about you in the coaching world. You're about simplicity. It's not being complex. It's about putting guys in a position to be successful. Because sometimes I find myself getting a little bit too just in the process of it and going through. But sometimes it's just A to B. And sometimes instead of going to A to B, sometimes I might go all the way around the world just to get back to that point. So I think that's it. I think that's important. And I think you're gonna see that in this right here. And so we kind of just tying in a couple of things we're talking about. Of course, Coach Sanders just talked about how he has great sets. And of course, in this right here, they're down. It's kind of hard to see the clock. I think it's 43 seconds left, maybe a little bit less than that. They're down in 3. And one thing that I noticed with this is when the ball came from sideline out of bounds, you didn't necessarily call anything. You didn't necessarily go. The kids knew what to go into. So that just ties into what you said. It's something that is good organization, what you talked about earlier, and your kids knowing what they're looking for. And so we'll let it play a little bit so we can kind of see some of this offensive action that you run towards the end of the game. Go back and talk about the timeout that you say you didn't call, and we can look at that. But then also, too, as we're playing it, I want you to be thinking about, because it's a question I'm gonna ask, how do you mentally prepare a team to finish out a game? Because one thing, as we've been talking about with this whole episode, is situational basketball, and you got to prepare your kids for this moment. And one thing that I also saw, and hopefully people go back and watch this game, when the game got tight, your kids didn't fret at all. So we're gonna talk about the mental aspect, but let's let it play a little bit. You can talk and tell me to start and stop it when you want, but we'll go from there. Of course, Madison is in the green, Trinity Christian is in white.
All right, so here we go. Notice look at the stop. Look right there. We got the court spread out. That was basically a 1-4, right? Right there. All right. We got guys running the baseline. All right. But now my guy right here, yo, take him. You know what I mean? Take him. Take him because we're trying to score. We're trying to score. He's our best ball handler. All right. And like I said, that's kind of like where we are. We got number 14 kind of in the way. But that's fine. But you get the gist of it. Let it play, coach. All right. Boom. I didn't have nothing in there. Notice how we got the court spread. See how we got the court spread?
This spacing.
We getting up. Yes. I'm okay with that shot. Boom. 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 Notice we rebounding. We rebounding. I'm a little bit upset we ain't got nobody for transition defense. Who's that guy jumping up and down like that? I don't know who that guy is. Man, that guy's a clown right there.
See, look at that clock. 42-41. Your team down by 1.
Now stop. Now stop. Now this is where the controversy comes at. Now, I'm telling him. Yeah, I'm yes, coach. Yes, coach. I'm telling him, listen. If he makes it, we good. Right? I'm not going to do anything. That's what I told him. All right, so he's shooting the first free throw. Now, I believe he made it. I believe he made it.
Here's the timeout part that you had. There's a timeout when the guy.
Okay. Now that was the. He walks up to me. He says, "Did you call timeout?" And I said, "No, I didn't call timeout." And coach, if you go back, you can see the other coach calling timeout. He's actually on the court and he's calling timeout. And I'm like, you can't call. You can't look. My guy has the ball. I'm sorry, but if you see him, he's calling timeout now.
Yep.
See?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. He's calling timeout now, and I'm saying, what are you doing? You can't give him a timeout while my guy got the ball. Yeah. You can't do that. That's not fair. And so that was one issue. And so the referee says to me, "Are you gonna call timeout?" And I said, "No. If he makes it, I'm not gonna call timeout. And what happens? He makes the free throw, and then he turns around and he says to me, "Timeout." See,
Yeah.
see, and now I'm fussing like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? How you gonna charge me that timeout?" The other coach, and that's what he's saying. He called timeout, and I'm like, no, 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 because I'm gonna save all my timeouts. And I had mentioned that about my philosophy. So after we go through that little shing thing, right there, and so I'm just telling my guys, hey man, we just gonna play, like I said, we just gonna play solid defense. All right, solid defense, and let's help. I also told him too. Look, the game is tied, right? So we already know he's going to try to get to the hoop and make sure we just help, but we don't want to foul. Make them make a play, because we tied. So you can let it roll now, coach.
Well, because we don't want to show the end, man. We know we trying to. I know it's a controversy call, but if you want us to play,
Call it, stop. Now, yeah, let the whole people see because I think it puts the timeout and everything in its proper context.
okay.
And so I'm fine with that. And that's what a walk is. It is what it is. And like you said, the referees are human, and we just being competitive. But
And this is what people don't realize too, coach. And I saw this just watching it, and then being a coach, you can tell JV officials are usually younger officials. When I mean young in the game, and you can just tell. And this again, this podcast is not the bashing; it's all positivity. It,
I get it.
it shows that inexperience in a crunch moment is tough sometimes. Even the best officials get it wrong
It
sometimes.
is. And these guys,
If you're in a hostile environment, especially if you know the competition between Trinity Christian and Dallas, and Madison, you know it, and you can just tell if you watch the game, they'll look back at it and evaluate it differently. So I do give you credit on that. You can just tell, and I can see that you fussed at them, but at the same time you had sympathy with them because you've been there before. But let's let it play through.
yeah. And so now I'm just telling you, yeah, we just play solid defense. There's no trickery here. We got our matchups. Everybody know who's supposed to be guarding who. Excuse me. And you look at it from a defensive standpoint, we solid.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we solid. We solid. We solid. We get, see, that's going to be a trap. We did now. Now this is where, now stop it. Oh my God, stop it. Now this is, can you go back when he received that ball before he drove to the back? And I'm not going to talk about the call. I'm talking about something that we did defensively. Stop it. And he and I spoke about that. He did something horribly wrong when we want to talk about defense. He's supposed to close out with his inside foot up, and so he doesn't go middle. That's the one of our defensive philosophy. He can't go middle. All
That's
right. He needs to be going. Yeah, he needs to be going towards his left, going down outside the lane, if I'm explaining it correctly. He closed out wrong. If you look at his feet, that's a horrible closeout for us. That foot that's closest to the basket should be inside foot up. And physically, you are putting your body there where you force him to go left with the left hand because we know on this level, using your left hand is really a challenge for some players. And
mm-hmm.
so that's something that we're gonna have to take responsibility for. But he closed out wrong, and he knew that. So let it play, coach. And our help guy, I was okay with that with our other help guy. So he gets to the paint. Oh, stop it. Again, then my help guy. My help guy did a horrible job helping them. He was supposed to take that charge, coach. Because there was no way in the world that he was supposed to get to the basket. And so that's how come I'm not, I'm just using this for educational purposes. There's no way in the world he should have got to the basket. My help guy should have been there. If you want to run it back again,
Yeah, he got to be. I've been trying to teach my kids, and we've been working on gap man defense. Like you said, for some reason, I guess the generational thing. You see the guy drive, and kids want to reach it and try to grab it or swipe at it. But like you said, coach, if he takes 2 to 3, maybe 4 or 5 steps over, coach, he's right there. But of course, like you say, in the game of basketball, that happens sometimes with kids. But here's something again. Here's something that I felt at this moment. I'm looking at the clock, coach. It's 42-42, coach. You can tell it's a heated game.
Mhm.
Situation is, unless it's a blatant foul or it alters the shot, I say let's let the game go to overtime. And I know that's controversial, especially when we go back and look at the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago when they said certain calls referees can't do it. So I'm not here to bash them. In that situation, I would have liked to see it just be a no call, in my personal opinion. That's just me. And again, that could be wrong, but at the end of the day, like, official gonna tell you, coach, it was a foul in the first quarter. It's a foul 1.9. But again, in that situation, cuz I know I give you a hard time and I'm gonna just play it again. I would have loved to see it be just a no call, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nothing kept him from making that shot. Not at all. And then for you to lose the game on that, that was tough, coach. That was.
It was tough, and just two little tidbits on it. And thanks for showing the film, because I think that was great to get to see some stuff in action when you're trying to play some things. But I think also too, in that situation, I agree with you. Let that thing play out and let the guys win it on the court. You don't involve yourself in that, and also too. I think us as Madison, we gotta take some responsibility, because we actually put ourselves in that predicament. There were some things prior to that, that put us in a situation, and so I'm okay with taking responsibility. And what I told the guys at the end of the game, I said, listen, man, anytime a game like that, 1, 2, 3, 3 points, 4 points, y'all tell me it's my fault, and I'm okay. I can take that. Sanders lost that game, and that's fine, because we competed. We competed the whole game, and one last little tidbit, and I take a little bit of pride in it. And I know it's just JV basketball, but that was my first loss in my career to a 3A school as a JV coach while I've been at Madison. I was like, I think I was 49-0, 50-0. I never lost to a 3A school until then. And so, it was, our guys got a little uh, um, hyped up about it a little bit too much. But everybody wants to win. And then we turned around and played them again a couple of weeks, and then they beat us by two at our play. Oh God, coach! If you ever bring me back, we gonna have that tape, and we gonna break that down a little bit, because that's gonna be fun. But it's just pride. But like I point out in the film, there were some things on that play we should have done better, and so we have to take that responsibility too.
Yeah, coach, man, that's what I tell my kids as well all the time. It's never officials. It's never one possession or one play that loses a game. And so I hate to see kids in the locker room crying, Coach, I missed a free throw, or like I know in the Celebration Bowl with Jackson State, the guy was broken down and people was blaming, oh, you missed a touchdown, so we didn't win it. One play doesn't cost anything, and I do the same thing, Coach. I don't put anything on these kids, and it's things that we got to do better. So I think that's good, Coach. Coach, I'm gonna go through these last questions, and I have a lot of questions I have, but I'm gonna just keep it short. So these gonna be, like I say, these gonna be like quick answers here. Uh,
Okay.
All-time starting five NBA.
Oh man, we were just arguing about that just a couple of days ago. Um, okay, we go with a point guard. I think that's a no-brainer. You got Magic. Magic is that guy. I think your two guard is Michael Jordan. I think your three is LeBron. I think the four. I mean, that is really. I mean, you can go with because the game changed. Like you could put like David Robinson at a four, even though he was considered a big guy. You could go with Hakeem. You could go with Wilt. And so at my four, oh man, that's just really, really tough. Um, man, man, that's tough. I'm gonna leave that for committee. Uh, your five is a no-brainer. It has to be Kareem. Just longevity. Even at the end of his career, he still could give you 20 and 10. And when the league was tough, you had to be tough back then. You know what I mean? It was no little boys allowed back when he was playing. So yeah, he was still giving you 20 and 10. And so that's my five.
Yep, it's kind of similar to what Justin had last episode, but he had Steph at the one. He wanted to be a little different. He went Steph at the one. I think for the four, he might have said Tim Duncan. I have to go back and look at it. And for the five, I think he did say
Mhm.
Kareem, or he might have said Shaq. I can't remember which one. All
See,
right.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's tough, man. You can't go
Mhm.
wrong either way. Who's your GOAT?
Can you repeat that? You broke up.
I'm sorry. Who's the GOAT in basketball for you? Who's the best player
Oh,
of basketball in the
and
NBA?
no, no. I'm just like everybody else. I'm like Jordan. He's that guy. When you really look at his career, and even when you look at college, if you really throw his college career and the limit, like he's that guy. I mean, there's some other guys too, like LeBron has had a solid career, but Michael Jordan is special, and because not only from a basketball standpoint, from just being a cultural icon too. Like that, he's 20 years from now, people still gonna be wearing Jordans. He's that guy.
If you could own an NBA franchise, what franchise would it be and why?
Oh shoot, man! I'm from New York, man. Them Nets, the Nets or the Knicks. Give me even one of them, man. One of them. Because I'm a native New Yorker, and let me tell you, New York City fans are diehard. Yankee fans are diehard. Mets are diehard. Rangers. Hey man, we diehards. It ain't nothing like New York City. And you know, one day I want to say, quick sidebar, we need to go take a trip and go check out a Knicks game, man. Go on and get it. We just go to save out and let's go to the city and go check out a Knicks game. Go to the Garden, man. We need to do that as a family.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. I
Mhm.
Probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I was on a trip, a business trip or educational trip, whatever you want to call it. And I said, I'm gonna walk down to the guard, man. I got there in front of the guard, man. I'm like, man, I'm out here in front of the guard. A guy come up, man, and say, hey, I got 2 tickets for you. And I'm thinking about buying them because I'm like, hey, man, don't anybody know I'm here. I said, this man could set me up, man. I could be in jail. Nobody know where I am. So I didn't buy the tickets, but it was cool just standing out there in front of the guard. And of course, that's back in
Mhm.
the day. Nobody even really do tickets anymore. Everything on your phone. Um, what is something that people, as we wrap up with these last 2 questions, what is something
Okay.
people don't know about you that they often get wrong?
They, uh, you know what? You let my uncle tell it. You let my uncle tell it. I think I know everything, and that's not true. That's not true. I'm, you see from a distance, I'm an agitator. I agitate her, but I like conversation though. At the end of the day, and so it's not arrogance per se. I really like talking, and I think this podcast will show. I can go on, and also willing to listen too. But I I would say that's one thing that I'm awfully misunderstood about.
Man, because as we wrap it up, man, I want to take these last 60 seconds, man, kind of whatever you just kind of want to share, just to kind of end the episode, man. I really hate to cut it short, man. We got great conversation, man. I left out a number of questions, but man, hopefully we'll get you back on. Because as you said
Okay,
earlier,
that's fine.
this is what we do. We talk basketball. So really, man, it's a podcast, but we do this all the time. So
No, it's all the time.
give me your last spiel, man.
First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to you. I'm so proud of you. You know, you. Hey, I remember when you was like, "Yo, I went to my wedding." I'm like, "Oh, for real?" Because I don't do weddings, but I did your wedding.
You did. I appreciate
I did just when, but just that for and what you told me, and in regards to that, and so hey man, I want to see you and Justin win. And when I come to visit and we laugh, we joke, we talk, man, those times are special, and because he's really the spark plug of it all. And I got love for him and your mom and all that. And so I'm lucky that I have y'all in my corner and you know that I'm in y'all corner. And anything I can do to support you or help you, and congratulations on being a dad. Just anything, man. Because y'all my peoples. I love y'all to death, and I need to come down and make another quick visit. But I don't want to say this is about me. I would say it's about y'all, and I'm so proud of y'all what y'all doing, um, and being in a great career and something that we have in common and things like that. So, man, I'm proud of you with the podcast and all this stuff, man. Keep doing your thing, and I'm just so happy for you. I really am.
man, coach. I appreciate you because man, and hopefully, we'll link up, man. We've been talking about this fans. We've been talking about this Final Four thing in Houston, and it's in Houston, right?
It's in Houston.
We try to make that work. So man, hopefully we get down there. We might be able to do some more content down there. But I'm grateful
Oh,
again.
that would be great.
That'd be amazing. We could get some real life. Have what I need, man. Hey, fans, we thank you all for spending your time.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, I know all those who are fans of Coach Terrence Sanders, man. Make sure you please share this. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share. Everybody that you know, make sure you like it on the YouTube page so we continue to produce great content.